Hello, fiends, friends, and familiars. This is your old pal, Matt Orozco from Macabre Daily, and I am super excited to be joined today by three members of the upcoming film A Knight's War, which is coming out from Dread Presents. I'm joined by director and writer Matthew Ninaber, and then dual stars Jeremy Ninaber and Kristen Kaster. Thank you all so much for being here today.
Thank
No,
you.
thanks.
Joining us.
Well, first and foremost, just a standing ovation for the first amazing dark fantasy film I've seen in I don't know how long. I was hugely surprised and impressed and blown away by this because as a fan of films like Sword and the Sorcerer, this felt kind of ripped immediately from the Albert Pruian pages of my childhood. So, congrats
Perfect.
first and
Oh,
foremost, an
Thank
outstanding film. And people should see it in the theater. So whoever's watching this, go to a theater and see it because I saw it at home. I'm like, I wish I was seeing it in the theater. Um,
oh,
you.
but I'll get into the questions. I know we don't have all the time in the world. And the first one's for you, Matt. I'm curious to know your inspiration behind A Knight's War.
Oh, this is so much. Jeremy and I, like again, we grew up on so many movies, Conan Barbarian, Sword and Stone. There's just so much dark fantasy that is from our childhood. And then there's biblical references to Lilith in there as well. So it is a cluster of so many things, and we've rolled
mhm.
around with this idea for a decade. So yeah.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, I definitely felt pulled out of the pages like a Warhammer book or something like that. But at the same time, kind of got that really dark edge to it, more horror tinge to it.
Yeah.
Um, and Jeremy and Kristen, I'm curious to know the process you all went through to prepare for some of the extremely well choreographed fight scenes in the film. Those don't look light. So I'm curious to know what training you all went through to prepare for the fight work.
Yeah. Well, Matt and I, we were always raised, like on karate and BJJ and Krav Maga, some martial arts growing up, and so we always watched Conan, watched these movies. So I was in charge of the choreography, and I was like, okay, like really excited. This is a big opportunity to do that. And so earlier on, we met with Kristen because we knew like we wanted her to be on this movie, and we would meet right in the studio here, and we just started the choreography early because we knew
I
that.
think you guys were trained 6 months before we went to picture.
Yeah.
Just going through the fight scenes. The fight scenes were one of the
Wow.
first things that we started playing around with.
Just because we knew they would be the movie would live and die based on that, right? Like these, we had a feeling we wanted to go authentic armor, and Samantha's just like we're going to be swinging real swords. Let's get it ahead of time, make sure we actually sell this. So Chris and I were in here quite early practicing our scenes.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
Kristen,
I
what about you?
yeah, definitely like lots of fight choreography training we did together, and then also just I would be practicing kind of every day. I would take some time out of my day and just like have the sword, be practicing the moves and just like different training the muscles to just get stronger and hold the sword. Because it's different just, whipping it around, but then actually like going to fight and then keep like holding it against the strength of another person, especially of Jeremy's size. It takes a lot out of you. So it was definitely I think at the end of the day I was like I couldn't hold the sword anymore after we filmed the one day because we had just like done so many shots and I was just like okay, I'm done. But it was yeah, it was intense.
I think, yeah, you watch a fight scene, it's like 60 seconds long, but that fight scene took all day for
Hmm.
them to
Right.
be, and they're swinging over and over again. So it's a full body workout that goes for like 10 hours.
Yeah, and the impact, right, of just the swords hitting each other alone, the reverberation that comes from it, like all of that, I'm sure causes immense fatigue. So kudos to your all's personal trainers because they did, keeping you all in tip-top shape. Now, I'm curious around the practical effects and the makeup work because it looks great.
Thank
And
you.
so much of, I think what makes the film work is because it really immerses people in this dark fantasy world with a little to no context, but you kind of pick it up as you go. How much did the creature designs change kind of from initially what was on the script to what you were able to do once you got introduced to your effects team?
I think early on, it's like when I write, I start sending things to people and trying to like I want to write around things I know. So we stole some of the inspiration for the Mad Max boys. What were they called? The white boys.
War
Yeah,
Boys,
I'm
kind of.
blanking. The
Yeah,
War
yeah,
Boys.
yeah. And so we were like, okay, let's do a medieval version of these guys, steal them over here, and then quickly we just everything in this movie is really about layers. So those priests at the beginning, the brothers of Caius, they're white, but then they have like this gold ornaments on them, and just like those layers and we kept that with the witches as well, taking little elements here and there. So I feel like we knew what we kind of wanted, but then making that come to life was a very organic experience with working with costume and working with makeup and going back and forth. So
And was it intense for you, Kristen and Jeremy, as far as like kind of getting prepared? I mean, obviously you're not as decked out as others, but you, Kristen, particularly, you've kind of got that black hue on your forehead. So you spend a lot of time in makeup.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That I think maybe the hair took the longest, to be honest, with the braids. But yeah, I mean, I didn't mind it really too much. The I think probably the biggest thing was the weight of the armor, just getting used to that initially. Um, I think we both were pretty shocked the first time we put it on, Jeremy and I, and just like wondering how we're going to get through 40 days of shooting with this armor on. And is there ways we can like ditch some pieces or like substitute it for something else? But Matt wasn't so lenient on that. So we had to, suck it up and just get used to it. And it was challenging because it's also it gets very cold when you're outside as well. So yeah, it was definitely a challenge, but I think by the end of it, Jeremy was like, there was one day I'm, kind of cold and frozen, and he's carrying me around in this like makeshift kind of sled, and he's running in the armor, and it's like from from putting it on the first time, he's lasting like half an hour in it to like all day, and then running around in it was, a pretty big testament to how much we, trained and like put on as much muscle as we could to
The
where
best
where
part was it didn't even make it into the film.
yeah, that whole scene
yeah.
didn't
That was
even make it
heart-wrenching.
into the movie.
The whole prefacing of that was Matt's like, "This is your Revenant moment. This is your Leonardo DiCaprio moment." I'm pulling Kristen in her full armor on this wood sled through 2 feet of snow, and they're like, "Go, dude, you got to do it." I'm like, "Ah," and they just cut it. It was like one of the first things cut from the film. So
That's okay. Physical releases and director's cuts, we're here for it. So put it on the Blu-ray, as they say.
There you go.
I did make a little note that you two aren't the only Ninibers in the film. There's also is your brother or cousin Ralph Ninaber is involved as well as the production design.
Oh,
I'm curious how that.
we have so
Oh
many family members in this. So my brother and I, we grew up in construction. That's literally how we've learned how to build all these sets. And my dad has just been such a believer, both my dad and my mom, of just helping us make movies. So like he was in there helping us build the sets and build the castles. I still have a castle in my backyard. My neighbors think I'm crazy. And then my son actually is he plays my son in the movie. And the opening of the movie where it's Jeremy, myself, and him was the first scene we filmed of the whole thing. Castle in my backyard. And I think that was one of the coolest moments ever in film for me because I'm getting to act opposite to my brother, but then my son's there too. And just seeing the first time in wardrobe with the fire and the snow, it snowed that night for the first time that year. It was just such a magical moment. But yeah, and then Kristen's sister is also our costume designer. So we get to watch them fight as sisters often on set. It's great. We all have to leave the set and let them have their little quarrel. And it's a good, it's a family affair.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the more you can bring in people that know you, the better. So that way you can minimize some of the other personality things. People know who you are and know to work with you.
totally, yeah, a bit more grace for each other.
Exactly. With family comes patience.
Yeah.
But my last question for you all, it's kind of a collective answer. So the scenario here is you're being asked to program a date night double feature. One of the movies is A Night's War. What other movie would you pair with it? And then to give you all a little extra challenge, what's the food and beverage pairing you think would go along with it as
Such a
well?
hard question.
Okay, so we're 2 movies. It's a double movie night, right?
Well, our movie's already one of them. So
Yeah,
maybe
double.
it's-
So it's Night's War, and we're gonna watch it with another movie.
Yeah.
Gotta be, I'd say, Lord of the Rings.
Oh, that's such a tall order. I'd do Conan Barbarian.
I
What about
might,
you,
I might.
Kristen? What do you think?
Um, I mean, maybe we could do like an episode of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
I thought she was
Especially
gonna
one
say
of the more
Harry
fantastical
Potter.
ones.
No, I wasn't gonna.
Any food and beverage pairing you think
Oh,
would go well with this?
it's gotta be a ribeye steak with a nice baked potato and some green beans on the side. That's what's going on with that meal.
I'll just do the stew that was ever being made at the beginning of the movie. I don't know what that
Oh,
was.
that's good.
It
That's
was pretty
good.
gnarly looking. Put that in there.
Well, see, now everyone watching this knows that they have a date night to bring their partner to with a double feature. So at the very least, we can't convince them for the two movies. You've got them for A Night's War and the food and
There
the
you go.
beverage. But Matthew, Jeremy, and Kristen, I just want to say thank you so much for the time today. Really enjoyed the film. Can't wait for others to see it. And for everyone watching this, you can check out A Night's War in theaters, which you should absolutely see it in theaters on February 7th. And if for whatever reason you can't get to a theater, that's okay. Turn up the sound system, put it on home on February 11th on VOD. Thank you
Thank
all
you
so much
so
for
Thank
your
you so
much.
time.
much.
So much.